Welcome to Today in Prophecy, daily news in 15 minutes or less. So what do we have going on? Well, I guess there's nothing that should surprise us. Well, let's start here. AI researchers call for personhood credentials as bots get smarter. Well, if you've noticed, sometimes when you're going to a particular website or maybe you're buying something or whatever it may be, you'll be asked if you're human and you'll be required to solve a puzzle. Well, as this report points out, the problem is AI's bots are getting smarter and smarter, and they're starting to be able to figure out these things. Hence, with that, they're saying you're going to have to prove you're a person apart from the computer. Well, how's that going to happen? They haven't figured out that part yet, but check this out. As we've already reported, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman's startup, WorldCoin, is scanning people's irises in exchange for digital passport that both verifies they're human and entitles them to shares of a cryptocurrency. So it's fascinating. In fact, it's WorldCoin who has said we are going to scan every single individual in the world, one iris at a time. Listen, we are just getting closer and closer with what the Bible teaches, the mark of the beast, where everybody will be identified. But as we see these types of reports, they're just moving faster and faster toward this type of thing. We know that this is the way the world is going to go. It's just a reminder for you and me that the Bible is true. When people said, that's just foolishness, you can't believe it, that'll never happen. Now, we are seeing it develop right before our eyes as this final world kingdom is being set up, the final, what the Bible calls the system of the beast. Well, speaking of, not just with IDs, and we're learning more and more about digital IDs. Of course, we've been talking about this with what's coming in Australia. Well, it's not just IDs. Switzerland moves toward cashless future with instant payment. So again, you look at something like this, we're hearing more and more about it. Cash, it's just a matter of time before it's obsolete. Why? Because not only are you going to have a digital platform, but also everything that you buy and sell must be recorded. And as they're working on these different dynamics right now, they're really talking about the digital platforms being in your phone, where you'll have your ID, you'll have your passport in there, you'll have your driver's license in there, all the identifications that you need in your phone. And you know, quite frankly, it's going to be easier. It's going to be convenient. If you're someone that travels a lot, you know you have to have your ID. You got to have your passport. You're thinking, if I lose this, I'm in trouble. And you are. You can be stuck in a foreign country if you lose your passport. And you can be stuck there for a week. You could be stuck there for a couple of months. So you look at this, you go, well, it'd be really easy once your face is scanned or you have everything on your phone as long as you don't lose your phone, right? Hence, the Bible says, you'll be ID'd on your right hand or on your forehead, and man, are things happening that way faster and faster, still developing. And I do want to say this also as we look at it. Listen, Antichrist isn't going to waste any time building the infrastructure. The infrastructure has to already be built because his kingdom only lasts a total of 7 years. Doesn't have time to build the infrastructure. That's why all these things are happening. We are experiencing the building of the system. Move on. Next story. Putin has decided that Russia is going to be a safe haven for people, get this, who want to trade liberal Western ways for Russian moral values. And I'm looking at this going, I mean, very interesting. As we look at things, we've been saying this for a long time. Anybody who's willing to pay attention knows that when we look at the wokeism that is here in America, especially in America, and then also in other Western countries too, but really is strongest in America, the wokeism. You wouldn't be able to have these types of ideals if you were in China, any Islamic country, Russia. None of them would put up with the nonsense that we have here. For example, if you're someone who says, I'm gay for Palestine. I'm homosexual for Palestine. You hold up your sign. Well, you know, try doing that over in the area of Gaza and see how it goes for you. It is not going to go well. you'll be dead within a few days. But it's just the foolishness of this kind of thinking. Putin's just playing into that, saying, hey, if you're tired of that wokeism, come on over here. That's why here in the United States, for those of you watching that are here in the States, some states, many people are leaving the woke states, and they're saying, I'm out of here, I've had it, I'm going to a state that's a little bit more friendly and supports my moral values. Well, Putin is doing the same thing, but on a grander scale, he's saying, country, come on over here, leave your country. I'm sure he's especially referring to America, and coming over here to Russia. Right. This next one, trying to figure this one out. Church of England, dropping the word church to become more modern. Like what? So the Church of England is increasingly dropping the word church in favor of relevant modern sounding descriptions such as community. A new study suggests the Anglican Church appears to be increasingly avoiding the word church when discussing the creation of new worshiping communities and congregations, a report has found. The Center for Church Planting, Theology and Research looked at the language used by 11 dioceses to describe new churches. The creation of a new church group is traditionally referred to as a church plant, but the report found that while 900 new churches have been started by the diocese in the past decade, none had used the phrase church plant as the primary way to describe the project. So you look at this, so you're going, wait a minute, Jesus established the church, but that's too offensive? So no, we're community. So I go back to this. We're a worshiping community. Well, what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. 2 Timothy chapter 3, where in the last days they will have a form of godliness but deny the power thereof, right? Well, we're not a church. We're a community. Who's Jesus? Well, he's one of the many, a form of godliness. Boy, can you see this developing. 1 Timothy chapter 4, doctrines of demons, deceiving spirits being taught at, well, you can't call them churches, being taught in these worshiping communities. Where are they worshiping? Speaking lies and hypocrisy. Paul wrote that, 1 Timothy chapter 4. That's what they're doing. By the way, forbidding to marry. Paul also wrote in that same section. So you look at this and go, don't say you're doing a church plant. Don't say you're part of the Anglican church, you're Anglican community. Wow, you think, is this really happening? Folks, it really is happening. Hard to believe, but it is happening. Well, let's not stop there. Violent criminals, next story, will be released to make space for social media thought criminals. I'm not kidding you. Can you guys pull up this article for everyone? There we go. Violent criminals will be released to make space for social media thought criminals. You look at this and you go, is this really happening? Yes, it is. This is over in the UK. The Labour government is set to release thousands of criminals, including those convicted for violence, in order to make room for prisoners sentenced in connection with rioting, which includes people who made inflammatory posts on social media. Yes, really, in an effort to tackle the jail overcrowding crises, Labor has ordered the release of 2,000 prisoners on a single day next month, in addition to a second tranche of up to 1,700, which will be released in October. Why? Well, it's the people who post mean things on social media, like saying the government is trying to control us. The government is trying to shut down our voice. You're not allowed to speak the truth. You can't bring the Bible into the conversation. You can't see you can't say that there's a world government that's developing. I can't help but think of George Orwell's 1984. Where telling the truth has become a revolutionary act, where you're going to jail if you say, hey, that person is a bad candidate, but if he's the candidate that the government wants, you go to jail? Wow. And over in the UK, what they have is a Muslim uprising. If you say anything against that, you're labeled as a right-wing extremist because you're not for open borders or whatever it may be. And you look at this. Will this be coming to America, folks? It's just a matter of time before it will. But Let's move on. We have a few more stories to cover. Iran warns planned attack on Israel unrelated to Gaza ceasefire, intent on punishing the aggressor. We are hearing this more and more about some of the things that are coming out of Iran. They've already said, hey, we're going to attack Israel on the 9th of Av. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. My personal belief is whenever it happens, there'll be a surprise attack. And actually, I do wonder, if Iran really wants to go head-to-head with Israel. The president of Iran, the new president of Iran, recently said, hey, this is going to go bad for Iran if we get into a war with Israel. And I believe it will. So listen, as you look out into the future, Iran will eventually go to war against Israel when they have Russia going with them. And that's Ezekiel chapter 38. I don't believe that's right now, but nevertheless, the threats are still there from Iran. And Iran's been threatening these things for a long time. But will it happen now? Will it happen next week? Will there not be another battle till after everything subdues and Israel comes to a place of believing they're in peace and security, some type of peace agreement is reached, and then Iran comes with Russia and Turkey and the other countries? Maybe, but let's wait and see. You know, in Israel, you're always on the edge because you have very bad neighbors, and Iran has proven their wickedness. We can look back at history and see what they have done and what they want to do, and these Islamic people who hate Israel. Israel's surrounded by all these different armies. 7 different angles they get attacked from. Rockets are still flying into Israel from Hezbollah every single day. So we're keeping an eye on that because we know biblically Jerusalem is the bullseye. It's the epicenter. And we know that also from the Bible, God has established the Jewish people. The Messiah came from Israel. He gave them a nation. He gave them the geographical location, which is much larger than they have now. Wow, if you think of the people that are upset with that little tiny piece of land that Israel has, imagine if they actually acquired all the land that God gave them, which they will. Then what are you going to say? You know, if you're this upset with the tiny bit of land that Israel currently has. Okay, let's move on. Check this out. Republican, look at this article. LifeSite News reports on this. GOP congressman from New York says he supports state law allowing abortion up until birth. And people say, vote Republican. Well, look at that. There's a vote Republican for you. And look what this individual is saying, this congressman. Abortion till birth. How many people voted for him because he's Republican? And he goes and says something like this. Wickedness. Well, let's not stop here. Check this out. This is at the DNC. This is the last thing I have for you. I'm going to show you a video. I'm going to talk over it as you can see this plane. This abortion clinic at the Democratic National Convention. There, you look at that and you say, what's going on here? Listen, this is just as of yesterday. 25 babies, as of yesterday, have been killed so far in this abortion truck at the DNC. So you look at this and you think, this is what we are promoting. This is the worship, folks. We have been given over to Satan. Let me say this. Isaiah preached the destruction of Jerusalem and Judah almost 200 years before Babylon came along, or about 120, 130 years, so about 120 years before Babylon came along, 100 years. He's preaching the destruction of Jerusalem and Judah. Why? Because of the baby sacrifice, offering God's babies to Molech, offering them on the arms of Molech, the satanic god. We are doing the same thing in America. I'm telling you, we are looking at the destruction and the end of America. God is not going to turn from this. He's not going to turn around and say, I can't see the abortions happening. They are doing this front and center, and people are voting for them. It appears right now half the country. This is appalling to see what is happening. Only God can save us. God bless you guys.